Okay, so we're going to be having a look at Excel today. So when we open up Excel, we can see that there are different columns, which all begin with a letter, and different rows, which all begin with the numbers. And the little rectangles are called cells. And each cell has its own address, which is known as a cell reference. So if I was to click on the first cell, that would be called A1 because it's in the A column and it's in the first row. If I was to click on the one next to it, that would be called B1 because it's in the B column and it's in the first row. Likewise, this cell here is called C4 because it's in the C column and it's in the fourth row. So what we're going to be having a look at now is how we can create a simple spreadsheet to record students' marks. So what I'm going to do is in the cell A1, I'm going to put in my heading, last name, and then in the cell B2, I'm going to enter first name, and then in C1, I'm going to type in task 1, and in D1, I'm going to type in task 2. And then in the cell reference A2, I'm going to type in my student's last name. And then in the cell reference B2, I'm going to type in their first name. Likewise, I'm going to put in A3, another student's surname. And then in B3, I'm going to type in their first name. And then in A4, I'm going to put in another student. And then in the first name, I'm going to put in their name. Okay. Now, because these are headings, I might want to make those bold, so I'm going to click on A1 and then drag my mouse until D1, so task 2, and then click on the bold icon, and that's going to make them bold. What I'm going to do now is enter their marks. So for task 1, Tom got 20, Nathan got 50, and Sarah got 35. Now I don't actually know what these marks are out of. So to indicate what these marks are out of, I'm going to right click on row 2 and click insert. And then I'm going to put in what the task was out of. So let's make this task out of 50. So we can see I have my students' names, their task, and what it's out of. Now what I want to do is make this a percentage, so I can get their mark as a percentage. Now unfortunately I can't do that next to here because that's task 2. So I'm going to right click on D, on column D, and click insert. And that's going to insert a new column. So I'm going to type in percentage. And then I'm going to get Excel to work out their percentage. So to do that, I'm going to type in equals. And then I'm going to click on Tom's mark, which is in C3. And now I need to push divides. Now I want to type in the mark, which is out of 50. And then I want to do times 100 and push enter. So we can see that Tom got 40%. Now if I move my mouse over to the bottom right hand corner of D3 and drag down, automatically going to populate that data for me. Now, because both columns C and D relate to task 1, I'm going to select both C1 and D1 and then go to Merge and Center up the top. And that's going to put task 1 as the heading over the 2 columns. Now I'm going to do my marks for task 2. So task 2 was out of 20. Tom got 11, Nathan got 15, and Sarah got 6. Now I'm going to put in my percentage column. I'm going to make that bold so it matches everything else. And now I'm going to do the equation to work out the percentage. So I'm going to push equals on my keyboard. I'm going to click on the cell reference for Tom's task 2 mark, which is in E3. Push the divide key. Then click on, and then enter what the mark was out of. So it was out of 20, and then times by 100. And that will give me the percentage. Then I'm going to click on the cell, F3, move my mouse to the bottom right hand corner of that cell and drag it down. Now I'm going to merge and center task 2's heading, over the 2 cells. So I'm going to highlight E1 and F1, click merge and center, and there we go. Now, there's a couple of things we can do to tidy this up. The first thing I might want to do is I might want to sort my students by their last name so they're in alphabetical order. So to do that, I need to select my students' names and all their marks. So I'm holding down my left button on my mouse and I'm dragging over and I'm highlighting all those cells. Then I'm going to go up to Data and Sort. And now I want to sort by column A, because that's where the last name is. Values A to Z. So we can see that it's now sorted by last name. It's now sorted alphabetically for last name. And all their marks are still in the correct position. Now what we're going to do is have a look at how we can add their mark for task 1 and task 2. So to do that, I'm going to make a new heading called Totals in G1. And then in G3, I'm going to click. And then I'm going to push equals. And then I'm going to click on their first mark, Sarah's first mark. Enter the plus symbol, click on the second mark, and then push enter. And then I'm going to go to G3, to the bottom right hand corner of that cell, and drag that down. So that's going to work out their total mark out of 70, because it's 50 plus 20. Okay. So another quick tip is if I drag that up, because I know that the totals are in those cells, it's going to automatically put in the total for me, so it's out of 70, and I'm going to make that bold. Now what I might want to do is work out their total as a percentage. So I'm going to go to H2, type in percentage, and then to work out the percentage, I'm going to click in H3, push equals on my keyboard, click on G3, which is the first mark, push divides. Now I know it's out of 70. Then I'm going to do times 100. and then I'm going to have a look at that number. So we can see it's 58.5714286, which is a very large number. Well, sorry, it has a lot of decimal places. So to fix that, I'm going to right click on the H column, and then I'm going to go down to Format Cells. And then under Number, I'm going to choose that I only want it to 1 decimal place. So I'm going to click on Number under Category, and Decimal Places, select 1. And then I'm going to drag that down. What I now might want to do is work out the ranking. So I might want to rank my students based on their total marks. So to do that, I'm going to click in I, I'm going to click in I3, and I'm going to push equals, and then I'm going to type in rank, and then I'm going to do a bracket, open bracket, then I'm going to click on Sarah's percentage, because that's the number I want the rank for. Then I'm going to type comma, and then I want her rank for her position between the set of 3 marks. So between Sarah, Tom, and Nathan. So those marks are located between H3 and H5. So I'm going to type $, H, $3. And then I'm going to do a colon, and then I'm going to do $H and $5. And then I'm going to close my bracket and push enter. So now this is saying that Sarah came second. And then if I drag that down, it will show that Tom came third and Nathan came first. And above those ranks, I'm just going to type in ranks so I know that those are the ranks. And then I might merge and center my heading totals and make that bold as well. Okay, the next thing I might want to do is work out what the average was for each test and work out what the minimum and maximum marks were for each test. So in B7, I'm going to type in min. In B8, I'm going to type in max. And then in B9, I'm going to type in average. And I'm going to make those bold because they are headings. So then in C7, I'm going to push equals, and I'm going to type in min, bracket, and then work out where my scores start, or my marks start. So they start in C3, so I'm going to type C3, colon, C5, because that's where my marks end, close brackets, and push enter. So this is now telling me the minimum mark was 20, or the lowest mark was 20. I'm going to do that again for task 2. So in E7, I'm going to click, push equals, type in min, open bracket. Now my marks start in E3, so I'm going to type E3, colon, and then they finish in E5. Close brackets, push enter. So you can see that the lowest mark here was 6. Now to work out the maximum mark, or the highest mark, I'm going to type in max, open bracket. Now we know that my marks start from C3 and they finish in C5. So I'm going to type max bracket C3 colon C5 close bracket, enter. Sorry, now we can see I forgot to push the equals sign at the beginning, so I'm going to put in the equals sign, push enter, and we can see that maximum mark was 50. Same over here, equals max bracket E3 colon E5 close bracket, push enter. Now to work out the average mark, I'm going to push equals, I'm going to type in average, open bracket, and now we know our marks go from C3 to C5, close bracket. Same as over here, equals average, open bracket, E3 colon E5 close bracket, and enter. Now we can see that this is displaying a number with a decimal point. Now if I don't want the decimal points, we need to right click on the E, because it's in the E column, go format cells, choose number, and then I'm going to choose 0 decimal places this time. Now, let's imagine that we had a new student enroll and their name was Harrison and their first name was Harry. Right, we know for task 1 that they got 15, and for task 2 they got 19. We can see that this calculation has automatically updated the minimum mark, which is now 15, whereas before it was 20. But to work out the percentages, all I'm going to do is click on the one before it and then move down to the bottom right hand corner of the cell and drag it down, same as over here. Right, the last thing I might want to do is just put a table, borders around my spreadsheet. So I'm going to highlight everything, go up to the border icon and click all borders. And I might want to do the same down here. Alright, I might also want to fill my headings. So I'm going to click on the bucket and I'm going to fill those so they stand out a little bit more. And the other thing I like to do is just center my marks. Alright, there you go, and that's how you can use Excel to make a simple mark sheet.